started 5 people in a gas station, and we started as a forklift company. So if we were the same company today, we wouldn't be 900 plus associates strong. Embracing the fact that what got us here today isn't going to get us there tomorrow.
Always having in the back of your mind, the customer's view of you is actually the reality.
Do you think the technology has simplified operations or has it hidden poor decisions? All right, y'all, we're doing this. Handled it.
Finally.
Excited.
Here for the podcast. We're excited to have some great conversations. So I'm here with Joe Perkins and Brent Hillabrand. Joe and Brent, do you guys want to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about who you are?
Yeah, you want to go first?
Never.
All right. Joe Perkins, Chief Operating Officer here at Carolina Handling. Been here for 14 years. Been a part of the organization for almost 25. Had the distinct pleasure of being a customer and seeing Carolina Handling from the other side before I got to experience it from this side. So really cool stuff.
Awesome.
If anybody's disappointed in Joe, you can blame me because I was actually the hiring manager that brought
You
Joe
were.
on board.
You were.
So Brent Hillabrand, President and CEO. I came to Carolina Handling. I started in 2005. I was the used equipment supervisor. And then I went into sales leadership and followed mostly a sales track to where I am today. However, interesting factoid, I grew up in this business. My stepfather and my mother ran a forklift dealership in Ohio. So I've been around forklifts since 3rd grade, basically. So excited, hopefully, to share some things I've learned and a lot of mistakes made along the way.
Podcast has been something that we've wanted to bring to life for quite some time. Now we're here. Lauren, a little bit about you.
So Lauren Murphy, VP of HR. I lead HR recruiting, learning and development, and safety here. I've been in HR most of my career. I think we're coming up on 20 years, which is crazy.
Started when you were 10, huh?
Yeah, I was just a little baby. But been here at Carolina Handling for 5 years. So newer to the industry, but learning and loving it.
Favorite phrase? Be your authentic self.
Yes, that is. I thought you were saying like forklift phrase.
Don't drop it.
All right, Brad. So you've been in the industry for a long time. Not calling you old, but
You kind of are.
it's been a long time. What is something that like happened in the past? Like you think about a great story that was from before that wouldn't happen today.
Wouldn't happen today. Okay, well, I
Hopefully
have
wouldn't
one.
happen
I'm not sure it's appropriate, but I'll share it anyways because I don't know, how old are you? And you're in like 4th or 5th grade. I don't really know.
Well,
but-
Nash is 10.
Okay,
10,
so I'm
11,
10,
yeah.
11 years old, and I used to hang out in the shop and in the summers, and I would learn a lot of things from technicians, maybe that I shouldn't. There was actually smoking, believe it or not, in the shop.
Oh yeah.
Little-
People used to smoke in offices.
Yeah,
And in restaurants.
Yeah.
gambling.
And bars.
They would gamble back there.
Before DraftKings.
Oh yeah, this is even worse. The welder had a poster hanging up, a calendar in his base. So a lot's changed in the business since then. But I guess the most fond memory for me was every time a new person started, they would bring me over, and they would bet money. They would trick the new guy into betting against whether I could pick change up off the floor with a forklift. Because the odds that you're going to pick one up with a fork is very low, but they don't realize there's a definite trick to it. You just tilt the forks, drive backwards, and it flips onto the fork. So that to me is something that would never happen in this day and age, I would hope, but definitely a fond memory for me. And I learned a lot from those guys back
So hold
then.
on. Did you learn that they needed to split the pot, or
I mean, they would.
were they doing that?
I was
for
not
you?
a good negotiator back then.
Oh.
I would get a soda out of it or something of
gosh.
that nature.
And back then, sodas literally cost a dime. So
I don't even remember. I think definitely less than 50 cents. I know that.
Could you do it today if we said, "Hey, flip that coin"?
You want to bet?
Yeah, I'll bet a quarter.
A quarter? Oh no. I know. My prices went up since then for performing.
So I used to have to do all the work. Operational expenses. This is one of those things where in my old company, it was almost like operations was saving everything to prosperity. And I'll never forget how I learned all about freezers because I'd worked outside. It was middle July. I was sweating, shirt soaked. And I was like, oh, I'll go cool off in the freezer. And then went to walk back out. And literally, a blast sale. In seconds, my shirt is solid and frozen to my body. And I'm trying to get it off. Like, hey, don't do that if you're listening.
What a dummy.
Yeah. Oh, it's a blast.
Yeah.
Who would have guessed?
Yeah.
So when you think back over this, years of material handling, since you've been in the business, Carolina Handling's been around, what principles have survived every major shift?
I think the first thing that jumps out at me, and I know people are going to think that I'm phonetically challenged, but like the ACBs, the associate first, the customer, and then the business execution. And as you dig into that, when you prepare the associate to understand how to exceed a customer's expectations, the business execution follows. And I don't think you can go back to any decade that we're referencing and not see evidence that where those associates performed, the customers were satisfied and the businesses thrived.
So when you say the associate and customer service, what does that mean? Like, what are you preparing the associate? Are you taking care of them? What does that look like?
Yeah. So, one of the key things, one of our pillars here that we talk about a lot is being associate-led. And when you look at Carolina Handling, and I don't think we're that much different than a lot of our customers, a lot of the decision-making is decentralized. We're not standing over the top of these associates like in a production line saying, hey, do this, do that. And so that decision-making is having to happen at the speed of business, speed of customer requests, speed of peer request. And so we really seek to empower that associate to make those decisions and drive that customer experience.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Brent, what about you? Anything that sticks out?
Oh, yeah, a lot of things. Obviously, so since you've already pointed out, I've been around a long time. But some of the things that have stayed the same in my mind, just being a little kid and watching how the business operated, hanging around the shop and so forth. No matter if it's just, forklifts, now we're into these complex automation and robotics, it still comes down to serving your customer. And I agree with what Joe said. It starts with the associate, and that we are associate-led and associate first so that we can take care of the customers, but always having in the back of your mind the customer's view of you is actually the reality. Your view really, our views don't really matter with the roles that we have. So that is timeless in my mind. Everybody is executing to come through for a customer one way or another. And we are a service business. So, we are associate led, and most people know our second is elite serving organization. I think you do that through serving. So that hasn't changed either.
Yeah. So when you were just talking about things that are changing, it made me think about innovation and continuous improvement. And I think those are some things that when you look back over Carolina Handling 60 years, you look back over other companies in this space over 6 decades, like they've had to continue to evolve and improve on their product, their service, whatever they were doing in their space. Like we had to keep getting better. And I know that's a mindset that we employ here. But when I look back, like I think that's a key component because there's companies like when you look at Blockbuster. There's not a Blockbuster on every corner.
If you said that to Nash today, he'd be like, what is Blockbuster?
I still have a VCR.
Do you?
You
No.
might have a VHS. But like companies have to continue to evolve and change and innovate and stay on the front edge. And then the other thing that I think about, and even thinking about like a Blockbuster example, is the flexibility that's been required over these last 6 decades. The most recent experience was COVID. It put everyone on their heels. But I think from this, like so many people have recognized that I have to have flexibility in my business to be able to shift with customer demand or what the economy's doing, how the world's shifting, or
what the job market says.
Yeah, what the job market says. There's a lot of that out there, and I think that's a big one.
It's interesting how it got more complex, but going back to what you were asking about the principles, they're still trying to do the same thing. They're trying to move their products from one spot to another. Yeah. It's just the other has changed so drastically.
Yeah.
From it used to be pallet to pallet, and now we're doing all kinds of different things.
Eaches.
Yes.
So speaking of innovation, technology is something that has advanced, right? Every year, every day, it's almost right. Technology is changing. Do you think the technology has simplified operations or has it hidden poor decisions?
Go ahead.
Oh, I said I never want to go first, but I guess I will this time. So I don't mind being first. If you're not first, you're last, right? Isn't that what Ricky Bobby says?
Correct.
I think overall it simplified it, but I do think when you throw technology onto certain processes that maybe aren't simplified, that makes it not an improvement. So I think Joe's much better expert. That's why I wanted to go first, because I know you have. He's a intralogistics solutions wizard.
Yeah.
But
I mean, if you unpack this thing, I think you can live in either camp. From a simplification standpoint, there is no question that there have been efficiency gains over time based on how technology has come in, and automation has replaced a lot of redundant and repetitive tasks inside of facilities and things like that. And then look at the data and the decision making. And I know, we're going to talk about this in other episodes around like how people are managing data and like what it looks like to manage it versus drown in it. But on the other side of it, when I look at where it's maybe hidden some poor decisions, garbage in, garbage out. And so if you're not setting this stuff up, if you don't have clean data and clean technology going into the process, then I think it actually puts you in a place where it hinders your ability to grow.
Well, just think through, I think of paper. It is very common for paper and manual processes to dominate our industry. And that is long gone. That is a great example of where technology obviously has been a huge help.
Yeah.
But it also could hide, some mistakes or things you don't realize that where you're not having the efficiency that you had with the manual process either.
Yeah.
So it is complex.
Interesting you talk about that, because one of the other things that comes to my mind when I think about technology and where it's at is the skill degradation. I mean, I still break out a calculator. Go further back as an abacus. But I mean, kids today and what they're using from a technology standpoint, I mean, it almost makes the calculator feel like it's archaic. And so I think there are certain pieces of technology that have created a level of skill degradation in the workplace where, I mean, in some cases, people can't even have a conversation anymore because we've got this technology that's our phone or our watch or some device where we're responding, and like having conversations is still a part of business 60 years later. So if I can't talk to my customer, like how am I driving better decision making?
Is there something you do as a leader to ensure, right, that those conversations still happen, or if there's somebody who can't have those conversations that you do?
So I mean, one thing every single morning, wake up and like shoot people texts just to make sure like I'm staying connected, that we're not losing focus because we're connected through all these other means of technologies that we have. But I think being intentional, you hear it said a lot, the work is happening out there. It's not happening behind the desk. You can manage a business sitting behind a desk. There's no question. I'm sure there's people who are out there watching or listening that are thinking, yeah, Joe, whatever, I've got it under control. But being intentional with your time and getting up and going and seeing those people and having those conversations, literally shaking hands and engaging, that keeps you connected.
So what, like we're talking about human factors now. So what human factors matter more now than expected?
Today,
Probably
work-life balance. That's the first thing that comes to mind.
We don't have an interview where that doesn't get brought up.
Yeah. I mean, I think about my grandfather, and I mean, literally, it was the whole I'm up when the rooster crows, and hey, I'm out until the street lamps are on, working and working and working. And there was very little time for family. Now, granted, the time that was dedicated, I think, was pretty dedicated. But I think more and more people today are looking at it and they're like, yeah, I need to work to pay bills and to provide for my family. Yeah. But like, and honestly, I think COVID really illustrated this for us, because all of a sudden you were locked up in your
Yeah.
house for the better part of a year with your significant others. And I think that's where it comes from.
I would agree. I would say on top of that, you're going to be proud of this. You ready? With the technology and I say how it impacts humans and our interactions. You have obviously all of these communication devices and tools that we use that take away from some of that, but you also have AI. That was the part I meant you were going to love.
There you
he
go.
loves talking about AI.
Yeah.
Well, you have, the opportunity to use technology to help you make decisions. In a lot of cases, with the business growing, the complexity of it growing, sometimes we miss the why we were doing it to begin with. And I think that's one of, I would say, one of the negatives where you might run into a situation where putting in an associate in a tough spot because they're doing something just because they're supposed to and they don't really understand why.
Yeah.
So I think that is a slightly negative, potentially, depending on how your operation is. And for us, it can be because we're spread across, 5 states and, we don't get to see everybody all the time.
Speaking of putting people in a tough spot, I think another thing that's really come out and there's way more focus on it today is safety and ergonomics and study. And, you see it on the back of trucks while you're riding down the road. Like, our greatest asset is sitting in the front seat. You walk into warehouses and our greatest asset is our people. And not only do I think people are taking better care of themselves now, but I think employers are starting to really recognize that our safety programs and how we look at ergonomics protect that asset. Whereas, again, you go back 60 years ago, and I mean, it was just like, get out there and get it done.
Yeah. Another that makes me think of it's really important that people feel a sense of belonging to an organization, where that probably didn't matter as much in the past 60 years ago. But because every employee has a choice, right? There's so many choices, and the way that social media has evolved over the last 60 years, and it's in your face. Like, if you want to go find a job, you don't have to go get the newspaper, right, or look at a job ad anymore. I mean, it is at your fingertips on your phone. You can find it. You can find whatever you want about a company, and so the choice is there for folks. So you got to make sure you take care of them.
I know you're a big believer in this, and you bringing that up just makes me think about the fact that, like, people don't want to drag themselves out of bed every Monday morning. And so I think a couple other things around what you're saying that really matter today is, like, being able to have fun in the workplace. And I'm not talking about hula hooping and stuff like that.
Pizza party.
Yeah, being able to enjoy what you're doing. But the other thing is, we're really seeing this drive and this passion around giving back. I know we've enhanced our philanthropic focus, and we've really seen our associates lean into it. But I don't think it's just our associates. I think there's a lot of companies out there where the associates want to get behind a purpose and drive something that's
which I think is
today.
Generational. It's led,
It is.
it's very much led by, I don't know what generation that is.
It's one of those X's or Y's or
the ones
Z's
after
or,
millennials.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So, lots have changed throughout the last 60 years. Are modern leaders more reactive than past ones? We have all of this information, right? Do you feel like leaders these days are more reactive than they have been in the past?
I don't know. I mean, I think there's you talked about it earlier, right? I mean, the amount of data that is coming at leaders today, and they're sitting in it, and in some ways I almost feel like they're paralyzed and they've almost lost their gut. They're dependent on data today to always make the right decision, because it seems like there's enough out there telling us what the decision should be. Whereas before, you didn't have time to slow down and go and get that. It was like, all right, we need to do this. What's the decision? Yeah, do it. And bam, we're off and running. Whereas today, I don't think they're as reactive as what we used to be.
Yeah, that's a tough one. For us, I think, as Carolina Handling, I think in general, I agree with Joe. But in certain business segments, and then for us, we're at such a fast growth rate that we're putting a lot on our associates, and they're forced through information technology and other things and driving for performance that they tend to react more often than what I would say in the past. In the past, it was like, I have my role, I'm doing my job, I'm doing my part. Oh, I'm going to take a step back and look at some different things and be a little more proactive. One, I don't think they have the time. And two, I think the nature of the world we live in, everything's just so fast that they're just running and reacting and moving and reacting and moving, reacting and moving, and it's rinse and repeat. And I think a little more proactive approach might
I
help.
can get on board with that, Brent, because you're right. I mean, the one thing that isn't changing is change. I mean, it's happening every single day. And so you can almost set your course and then, here's this new shiny object. And it's like, whoa, I'm going over here. So I would probably say we're diverting more than we're reacting. But I do agree with you in the fact that, like, if they're proactive, if they're planning, if they're setting vision and they know what that strategy looks like it keeps them in that line moving. But I still think we've lost our gut a little bit. And I'm a big gut guy.
Yeah.
So like
you got a big gut? Is that what you're saying?
No, I've been working on that.
So Joe, you and I've had this conversation a couple weeks ago about there's a lot of growth in organizations where maybe we're promoting people a little bit too early, and we're promoting those people who are great individual contributors, right?
Yeah.
And they are used to fighting those fires, and those heroic acts are what got them promoted. Do you think that contributes to this leaders being more reactionary?
Yeah. We were at a meeting a couple weeks ago, and someone called those people arsonists. They're like, hey, if you keep rewarding the people that are putting out fires, they become arsonists. I think they're looking for the next thing to run to, and it doesn't keep them focused on what they actually need to be doing. It's like, where is that next heroic act coming from? Because, I mean, go back to Pavlov and the dog, and I guess it was peanut butter. I know my dog loves peanut butter. But, like, you continue, shout out to Dune. You continue to reward that, they're going to continue to push in that space. Right. So,
Yeah. So speaking of mistakes, what are the things that keep happening despite better tools? What are those things that just keep nagging at us despite that we have automation and AI and all these technologies out there?
Well, it's funny you bring up those types of tools. I think one mistake is that folks continue to ignore innovation that's right there in their face. They keep saying, I don't need it, it's not the time, and all of that. And then all of a sudden, the window relative to their customer, we've missed it, or a competitor has slid by me. But I think not capturing those moments. Now, look, there's a ton of preparation that has to come prior to making that decision to jump off and to innovate and to be innovative. But like, you've got to make sure that you're there.
Yeah. For me, I think innovation and automation together is a double-edged sword. So I think everybody's out there looking for it. Some customers fall into it where they're slow to it and they miss the boat. Others maybe too fast and put themselves in a difficult position for one reason or another. I think the companies that do the best, and I'm speaking to our customers right now, it's not so much us, are the ones that still can rely on the human element. So what I mean is on their lean processes, process improvement, have a continuous improvement mindset. It will lead you in the right kind of timing as to when is the right time to bring in the innovation, when is the right time to bring in technology. But because everything's so fast, and this the great new idea age that we live in, they kind of lean on that more than what they probably should, in my opinion. And I hate to sound like the old guy here.
No, but I mean, look back. I mean, we just talked about it. We're celebrating 60 years. Started 5 people in a gas station, and we started as a forklift company. So we were going to sell a forklift. We were going to have the parts for that forklift. We would be able to fix that forklift. If we were the same company today, we wouldn't be 900 plus associates strong. We wouldn't be driving into spaces with our customers where we're having these different conversations. And the key thing for us is to continue to innovate, even to the point, and I mean, no discredit to Raymond or Toyota or anything, but we don't want our customers to look at us as a forklift company. Like, we want to be this intralogistics solutions company that can come out and talk about the ecosystem that is everything happening inside the four walls. And that really comes from us embracing the fact that what got us here today isn't going to get us there tomorrow, and understanding how does that strategy play with our customers.
The key thing you said there for me is the solutions word, or consulting, or however you want to look at it. A lot of forklift companies, I'll call them, or material handling companies, think of themselves as sales organizations. The truth is, we sell a lot of different products, but the real truth is we don't sell any. The solutions should dictate what the customer's needs are, and if you approach it that way, I think you're still in a serving type mindset, and you're not chasing maybe widget type sales, which I think takes away from us as an organization and also the customer, because you're trying to force something on them potentially that they don't want
I like
or
that
need.
point. And when you asked a question a while ago, like, what are we ignoring? Sometimes I think we're ignoring what our customers are telling us. And like, you've got to be a student of your customer. And I don't think people embrace that enough, that, yeah, I've got my job to do and I've got to keep this place running. But if I don't know what our largest customers are being affected by, those solutions, I'm not having the right conversation when I go in and talk about them. So I have to carve out time out of my week every week and be intentional to go, and whether it's articles that we're reading or books on things that customers are having challenges with, like, we've got to understand what's going on out there. And I think those people that ignore that, that's a big mistake.
Joe, I want to go back to something you said. You were talking about the kind of the transition that Carolina Handling has made from just being a forklift dealer to being an intralogistics solution provider. And I know that was tough for our organization, right? Because it's a big shift. How, as a leader, do you lead that change for your organization? I'm sure there's operations leaders out there who want to make a shift, but it's like, how do I get my people behind it?
Yeah. So, 14 years, and I think about it because during that time, we went from forklifts and leasing and rentals and all the cool things about forklifts to selling systems and integration, conveyor and robotics and all of this. And then we needed to be able to work on that stuff. And we've shifted into consulting around lean, and we continue to evolve and reinvent ourselves. But I think most recently, when we jumped into that space on working on conveyor and automation, the fear that was in our technicians, like, they almost were nervous. And what was wild is that they found it easier to work on the conveyor than what they do on a forklift. So I think what you're really talking about is like this change management. And one of the key things for us is like, how do you involve people and give them like this postcard view of, this is where we're going. And this is what it's going to look like and feel like and smell like when we get there, and like the goodness that's going to be in it for them. We've seen our people really jump on board and help us drive the change. Sometimes they're even the people that are initiating it.
Yeah, that's a really good, interesting. I was sitting here thinking about your career with that, because he started that group for us 15 plus years ago. But I remember we went from hey, let's try and get into this space, try and figure out how to do some of these things, into more of hey, let's get out to our customer space and figure out how we can help solve their problems that they have. And it's been a journey for sure, but I think the approach is what I'd say is most intentional. And so to me, it's how you approach change. If you're going to react to it, like I was trying to say earlier, I don't think you're intentional. But when you're proactively say, no, this is what we're going to be. We didn't go say we're going to sell conveyor. We went and said we're going to go solve problems. And that's how we got to where we are now. And it's the fastest part, growing part of our organization by far. So
Staying in the same leadership vein, what would today's leaders reject that past leaders relied on?
I think the first thing that comes to my mind is trust, because I look at RFPs today. It used to be a handshake and I'm going to buy a forklift from you. And now there's 17 signatures that are happening.
8 legal reviews.
All of this stuff, and everyone's trying to figure out how you're getting me. But I think when you look at what would really be rejected today, the thing that comes out the most is like that allegiance to an employer. And I'm probably maybe should push this back to you, because like when I think about the people and the tenure of associates, I mean, it used to be 40 and 50-year associates.
Right.
And when we leave a voicemail for someone here today, and it's like, hey, you're celebrating 5 years and 10, those are big numbers for us. And we're blessed to have people that have 30 and 40 years, but it's becoming so uncommon.
Oh yeah, I think it used to, like, I remember you wouldn't want to have, like, you'd be viewed as a job hopper if you had like, you know, if you were at a company for 5 years and 10 years, right? But that has changed, and we touched on this a little bit earlier. There's so much choice for folks. There's so much that with social media, and you can go find anything out about a company. You can see what their wages are. You can and you might not necessarily, like, the grass does look greener on the other side, but might not necessarily be that way. But
you know, when you said what would they reject, I started thinking through, and I was maybe a little hopeful with this response. I would hope that our leaders would struggle with the authoritative style that used to be in the business back in, I would say, as I came up through it. And it wasn't more like we're going to lead with our people. It's like, no, you're going to do what we say you're going to do.
You're following
Almost
me because
militaristic.
and you're going to follow this
to.
procedure. You're going to do this, this, and this. And in this environment, I mean, you're going to not be able to get the best people, and you're not going to be very effective. So I would hope that our leaders would reject that type of style. That would be the first thing that sticks out to my mind from the last 60 years, let's say.
Which, and I think employees would reject that.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, gosh, I can't imagine showing. I mean, when you watch movies from back then and you read books and stuff that detail what those times looked like and felt like. But again, the people were conditioned then that was good leadership, that it was okay, and they accepted it. And you look at today, and I think that's where it comes from both sides. Like, we need our leaders to reject that militaristic behavior, but I'm okay with our associates rejecting that behavior, because it calls out that leader really fast whenever it's happening.
Yeah, and it goes against our culture and who we are.
Everything. Yes.
Well, guys, I appreciate it. That's a great discussion around just how the industry has evolved, how we as Carolina Handling has evolved, and I'm excited as we get into more episodes for us to dig into that even more.
Yeah. At Carolina Handling, we help operators simplify complexity so systems actually perform under pressure. From automation to layout and labor strategy, we focus on solutions that hold up in the real world, not just on paper. Learn more at carolinahandling.com.
All right, guys, let's switch gears a little bit. We read this article where Sam's Club, right, shutting down some facilities, moving to a more advanced, automated, integrated site, which not abnormal, right? We're seeing that a lot across the industry. How, do these shifts really, truly deliver better outcomes, better results? What are your thoughts?
Well, you said it. It's not just Walmart that's making these decisions. We're seeing a lot of customers today that are taking this approach. And I think where it comes from is a lot of shifts in the economy, in the talent pool, in customer demand, where things are going. I mean, and that's a lot to unpack. But the thing is, the data is telling them, like, you're better off to ship from one location to all of these locations than what you are to try to do it out of 7 or 8 different sites, because there are factors of redundancy in these sites. So whether it's leadership or it's technology or it's equipment and things like that, bring it in under one roof, it can happen, and it can drive some real results and real efficiencies for these companies.
Oh, yeah. I think overall it's a great thing. Pushing the envelope on logistics is very important. If you think about Walmart in general, little fun fact, not a lot of people know, I worked at Kmart when I was in high school. So they don't exist anymore. And if you remember, like, Walmart was the first where they put all their product on the floor.
Yeah.
So there's no back room. And so this is, it's not new. A lot of companies are changing how they store product, how they move product. I do think there's some I think for each company, it's going to be a little bit different and some things they need to look at. But overall, I think it's a good thing. Sometimes you can put yourself in a box. That's not going to happen to Walmart. They're too big for that.
Yeah.
But other customers that may be listening, you got to be careful when you change your entire logistics model, mostly because it changes so fast. And if you're not have the ability to adapt to the change that happens, like with either tariffs or, we have ports in our territory,
Yeah.
the difference like we can see right now in our distribution markets versus our manufacturing markets, it stands out. So I think you have to be careful, but wow, it's really exciting overall.
So, I mean, you can go read this article and it tells you that Walmart has shut down some of these sites and they moved into a bigger one. But I bet many people don't recognize that there was a shift in the world of retail a few years ago. Like if you go into a Home Depot or a Lowe's or somewhere like that today and you're looking at a washer or a dryer, I can remember the days when you said, yeah, we want to get this one. And they went in the back and they grabbed them and they brought them out and you put them in your truck and you took them home. But one of the things they recognized was, man, this is really inefficient for us to store all of this inventory on site at hundreds of different stores. So let's pull all of that into a bigger distribution center and not have to have that inventory. So now all they have to have is the floor model so that you can look at it and touch it and feel it. And then you're like, yeah, I want it. And they're like, okay, we'll deliver it on Tuesday. But it doesn't necessarily come from that store. It may be coming from Oklahoma. You still have the exact same experience. They've lowered their carrying costs relative to inventory and really improved their efficiencies.
What other consumer behaviors are driving these changes?
I mean, gosh, you got the whole buy online, pick up in store.
Yeah.
I think the retail shift post-COVID, you used to go to buy something in a retail store. I think you go to a retail store to try it on, and then you go home and you search online and see if you can find it somewhere cheaper.
Find a dupe.
And then it ships to you,
Yeah.
right? So I think there's that piece. I mean, you've seen malls and stuff like that almost become non-existent today. I mean, some of the retailers are still hanging on, but it's different.
Slight question for you. I just thought about this when you mentioned malls. So I think a lot of that's, to answer her question, is driven by the need for instant gratification. Got to have it sooner. So it's pushing a lot of these companies to have to get the goods to the consumer a lot faster. But isn't it interesting where you could go to the mall and get it a lot faster, but you won't go get it? You'll wait 2 days for it to come in.
Absolutely.
So it's not always instant gratification.
Yeah.
But I'm to the point now where if I'm ordering something on Amazon and it says it won't get it to me for 2 days, I'm like, that's not good enough.
You'll go to Instacart.
Yeah, I'm going to be like, let me go to Instacart and see if I can get it.
Oh, yeah. Or DoorDash.
And then I end up paying probably like twice as much for this product.
Yeah, but
or
what's
whatever
wild is you're not even checking the prices 90% of the time. I mean, it really is the convenience. And I think in this article, Walmart is looking at what are our habits as consumers, and they're building around it. I mean, you even look at our business. So what was it, 5-6 years ago, maybe more? We used to have parts distribution in 2 different branches. And when we went and looked at the study, it told us that we could ship to 98% of our customers and have it there the next morning by 8:30. Well, the reality was a technician would have told a customer, hey, I'm going to fix this. They would have rode to the shop to pick it up, and then they would have gone and fixed it the next morning by 8:30. Why not just have that part waiting on them? So we actually took parts from several different branches and pulled them under one roof and leveraged the supply chain and logistics to get it to our customers and get it to our technicians.
We still, like, if you think about it, though, our consignments are like micro logistics centers because we have other inventories out that are close to the high moving stuff that's close to our technicians.
Yeah. And I mean, I think there's so many factors that are forcing these types of decisions. The one that, I mean, we've talked about a lot of efficiencies and things that have changed, but this labor trend in America, like finding a workforce, and I can tell you, I mean, for us, when we build buildings, the number one thing we do is work with economic development to understand what is coming to the area that we're looking at building a building.
Yeah.
Because if they're not building hotels and restaurants and banks and apartments and things like that, there's not going to be a talent pool for us to pull from. And I would bet that when Walmart made this decision, they're tied out to some economic development groups and they know what's coming.
What do you guys see as like some of those longer term risks, right? Like, so, shutting down a facility is not always viewed as in a great light, right? Or, hey, we're moving to automation, and that fear to people is, there goes my job. Yeah. Like, what are those risks that employers should be evaluating? Thoughts?
I know you and I have talked about this a lot. I mean, with where tariffs and nearshoring and all that's going, you've talked a lot about you build this massive facility and then all of a sudden something shifts.
Well, I mean, it happened to us here in the building we're sitting in right now.
Yeah.
And so, change happens at such a fast rate that you have to have flexibility built into your model no matter what. I go back and forth on that one. I think if you have a good handle of your handled it. If you have a good handle on your customers and what you feel like the future is going to look like, then you can do those types of things. This recently with world trade changing is another new dynamic. You had what we had with COVID pushed us into the situation we're here with this facility.
Yeah.
And obviously the last two facilities we addressed that and the future. So I think.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what we did?
Sure. Well, I mean, we have our building here in Charlotte is, I don't remember, 50-50 office space to warehouse space.
Yeah.
And our other facilities are more like 90-10 now because of that. We learned quickly that our associates are quite capable of functioning from home. They did miracles, in my opinion, through COVID. Shout out to them. If you all remember, we were 558 people, and we vowed we weren't going to lose any.
Yeah.
And we didn't.
Proud of that.
And but they came out of that more efficient. If I remember, some of the best years we had, like for efficiency and productivity, were coming out of that. So I think if you can be proactive enough and have the information, which we did, we had to shift a little bit with getting more live data than what we had before. We were able to make great decisions, I feel like, in the short term that lined up with what your other point was of our future destinations.
I do think, though, I mean, Brent brings up a good point about being connected to your associates and being connected to your customers and all of that stuff. But I think with all the shift that's going on in the world, whether the value of the dollar goes up and down and exports are going to go up and down, nearshoring, all of this stuff, when I look at some of our largest customers, they have built their supplier network around them so that items like just-in-time inventory and things like that become accessible. I think that's a key piece to anyone who would be looking to go out and combine facilities. Like, understand, are your suppliers going to be able to support you the same way, whether that's infrastructure or whether that's their facilities, like where are your raw materials and your products coming from to be able to be sure that you're going to be able to sustain
and deliver. Yeah. Guys, so we've talked about a lot. Joe, what's the bottom line here? What's the takeaway?
Yeah, so I think for anyone who's out there listening today, like, it's not just turn off the lights on one building and turn on the lights in a bigger building and pull them all into one. Where you can gain efficiency and effectiveness out of making those decisions, where you can support those decisions and they're right in your strategy, like, absolutely explore it. But if you haven't done that research, take the time to pull back a minute, go and look.
If this conversation challenged how you think about operations, please leave us a rating on Spotify. It helps other operators find the show and keeps these conversations going.
All right, guys, we're going to move on to agree or disagree. I'm going to give some statements, and I want you to write down if you agree with that statement or disagree, and then we'll discuss.
Fighting aloud?
Yes. You can
Encourage. Got it.
And you must slap with this.
All right. I don't think I can read it.
Yeah. First one. In high-stakes operations, experience is often more reliable than data.
Okay.
Experience is more reliable than data. Let's see it.
The big reveal?
Oh,
we're all the same?
Okay. All right.
Why do you agree?
So for me, I said it earlier, you made fun of me for being a gut guy, but I mean,
Big gut guy.
experience-based decisions contain logic. And I think there's times where data, maybe that logic isn't programmed in. So I'll take experience over data.
Yeah. I think data tells you what happened. Experience is what's going to get you to use that data and take you to the next level. Brent, any other thoughts?
No,
that we didn't hit on?
I just would say, I'm just to piggyback on what you both said. The value of experience is understanding all the variables,
Right.
and sometimes data doesn't understand
No.
variables.
Right.
Agreed.
It's
So,
just a number on
I
the
love
paper.
data.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the next one. Most technology failures trace back to leadership decisions, not the technology itself. Most technology failures trace back to leadership decisions and not the technology itself. And flip them.
Big reveal.
Oh my gosh! I think
Everyone's
aren't we supposed to be
agree
fighting?
again?
I was looking for a fight.
So Brent,
Oh.
jump in.
Fight us. Is there?
You want me to? I'm thinking. You know what I'm sitting here thinking about is if I should.
Is
just
how
No,
you're going to disagree with
yeah,
the
that's,
fact
I
that
just
you
I just want to
Yeah,
disagree
yeah.
with you so bad.
Okay, you're allowed one switch in the round. So
Well, I
now
can't.
you're
I can't
disagreeing.
because I've made this mistake, and I would be a hypocrite if I did not say I agree. We've done that with software here before, which I would consider technology.
Yeah.
Where we thought it was going to be the solution that got us the change, and it wasn't because we didn't understand what our people were actually going through, and we spent the money, put the bad software over, and asked them to change their process to the bad software. So
I'm with you. I think it happens all the time in business because leaders aren't connected to what's going on out there. They're managing from behind that desk. They see the shiny object. They're like, yep, that's our next answer. They buy it. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I think, too, they failed to get the right people involved, right?
Yeah.
So the people that are actually working the process or using the technology, it's, decisions made up here and not involving those folks. So
Agreed.
it becomes a miss. All right, next one. Growth strengthens organizations more often than it exposes weakness. All right.
hold on.
Are we going 3 for 3 with
All being the same.
Align.
I don't know,
Alignment.
but you guys are going to yell at me, so I don't care.
Okay.
Agree.
You're wondering what AD means,
I
right?
agree.
I've improved my process.
Oh, a little
job.
continuous
Look at
improvement
Yeah, a little
over there.
continuous improvement.
Yeah. I am all about new eyes, new opinions, new ideas, like that fresh blood into the organization. And like we've been on this growth trend for some time, and I think about the ideas that people have brought out, things that we're bringing to market, and some of this comes from those new brilliant minds that we brought into the organization.
I think I disagree with the statement because I think growth amplifies the gaps that you have in your organization, right? So where you might have leadership gaps or cultural inconsistencies, process gaps. So I feel like, I guess it would be, I disagree. But a caveat, if you have all of that stuff in order, then you'll probably be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I graded on a curve maybe, or with an assumption of that the growth occurred because of great planning. It wasn't accidental. So that means you executed what you set out to, and you're going to learn through that entire process. So that's kind of where I had to agree.
All right. Simplicity becomes a luxury as operations scale.
Simplicity becomes a luxury as operations scale. Okay. Locked in on that keyword luxury.
All right. Let's see.
Yes.
Oh.
Disagree.
So who has to fight first in this?
Well,
I'll take him.
I'm more of a counter puncher, so why don't you guys go for it?
Look, there's no question. It's a hard fought luxury. But when you look at when it's in place and it allows those good processes to be taught and retaught, and I believe that simplicity is a luxury as you move.
I agree. I think you have more cooks in the kitchen, right? Like getting to having a simple operation as you put more people in, more thoughts, more decisions, it becomes a luxury.
Yeah, going back to not having a bunch of firefighters.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can't disagree with what you guys just said. I feel like simplicity should be the plan all along. So we have 900 plus associates. We hire a bunch of people. Over 50% of our workforce is 3 years or less.
Correct.
So in order for us to be effective, we need to be simple from the get-go. So I don't think it's a luxury. Yes, I mean, you could say you have to earn it, but that means you're focused on that it happens after the outcome. So for me, it's more of, do we have the right plan? Do we have a strategy? Do they understand our core values? And do we make it easy for them? If you think about our E3,
Yeah.
it's simplified on purpose so that
For that,
for that very reason.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
All right, last one. In fast-moving environments, speed produces better outcomes than accuracy. In fast-moving environments, speed produces better outcomes than accuracy. Ready?
what are you doing?
We're all disagree.
You just cheated on your
No, I wrote dis with the agree from last time.
You wrote dis?
Again, simplification.
Oh,
So,
okay.
but hey, look, there's no way you can tell me like speed produces better outcomes than accuracy. Grandpa told me, measure twice, cut once. Like you cannot disagree, or you cannot disagree with that statement. So I think the wrong thing fast is still wrong. Like, let's make sure we get it right.
So counterpoint, fail fast, right? Do you want your people? I mean, I don't disagree with you, but
Yeah.
like, isn't there
But
something?
we both want to disagree with
Right.
them so bad.
But there is something to, right, failing forward and
There you go. That was going to be my counter argument to it.
Well,
Yeah.
you said it earlier. You know, a friend gave me something. It says sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. We get it. We're going to embrace failure.
Yeah.
Failure in the spirit of trying and all of that. But I also think that there can be a pace. Like, I like to make sure I've done the research before I'm going to go and drive to make sure that, hey, I think this is going to be the right thing. So that would be my only piece is like, yeah, let's still roll, but let's make sure we're calculated as we're doing it.
The only thing to think about is, and this is true, if you're moving slow, you're not learning lessons. And
potentially,
the outcomes of, most of our continuous improvement comes through failures that we've done, or, we don't call them that, but, failure is a strong word. But when we find defects in our processes, that's how we learn. And we usually learn them by move along at an arduous pace.
Yeah, in college baseball, the last guy on the lap learned that he just earned us all one more lap.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Awesome. Good discussion. I appreciate the healthy debate.
Yeah.
Next time, we're tackling one of the most expensive questions in operations. When should you automate, and when should you absolutely hold back? If you've ever felt pressure to modernize before you were ready, you won't want to miss this.
Remember, scale isn't built by adding more. It's earned by subtracting what no longer serves you. Until next time.